Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Smoke and Fire, where we have intellectual discussions between two old men, beer, cigars, and a lot of entertaining fire. I am your not-so-humble correspondent, and this is Tony Motown Allen, our co-host for this show. And we're going to be discussing some interesting topics, including what we're drinking. I am, like last episode, sticking with Coors Banquet because I'm taking it easy due to me being an old fart. I'm going to be 48. And this young whippersnapper here is not only drinking some Banquet, but also some Crown Royal
Blackberry.
Blackberry, yes.
Because technically I'm older than Rob, but I'm coming up on 42 next year because just like Eazy-E knocked out 10 years off his age, I'm going to do the same thing. Fuck 1973. I was born in 83. Sorry, Mama Motown. Don't get mad at me for changing my age because if I'm 10 years younger, guess what? You're 10 years younger.
Well, you know something? It is not about the age, it's about the mileage. And between the two of us, we
got some miles.
Yeah, we have probably drank more beer, seen more ladies, and traveled more miles than you young whippersnappers have seen in your lifetime.
I spent more money on spilled liquor than you make in a year.
And you know what? That's probably true in that case because
it's sad but true.
Well, see, that promo was about Buddy Landel, and poor Buddy Landel could have been a huge rival for Ric Flair, but he screwed it up. He called it the $100,000 hangover. He went out drinking one night. He didn't show up for the TV taping the next day, and they had everything planned out for him to have a run with Flair, and he was fired the next day because he didn't show up. A very good lesson for those of you who opportunity only knocks a few times, and you better be at home.
The cool thing with that story is the fact that I didn't know all the details on that though, so thank you.
You're welcome. But see, Buddy Landel is one of those tragic figures, and we're going to talk about the Golden Era versus the Attitude Era a little bit later on. But Buddy Landel is one of those classic examples of someone who was an overachiever who was the instrument of his own destruction. Him and Tommy Rich. Interesting fact, Tommy Rich and I share a birthday, July 26. It's just that he was born in like 1953 or 4, and I was born in 1977. So there's a few years between us, but Tommy Rich could have been a whole lot bigger than he was, especially in the South, but the party lifestyle was something that he could not handle as well as Ric Flair could.
Most people couldn't.
Nobody could. Yeah. I think the only person that could drink more per capita than Ric Flair was Andre.
I was like, the only one I could think of was Andre.
And that's only in one sitting. And because Andre was over 500 pounds and had the frame that he did and the tolerance.
So for pound, nobody got to drink Ric Flair.
No. Kind of like Dynamite Kid in the ring. Nobody could beat him pound for pound, but holy crap, was there a whole lot of... But we'll get there in a minute. Right now, what we're going to open the show with is a discussion about the general world, and we're talking about ticket prices. Oh, my God in heaven. On top of the economy and on top of greedy corporations, we're talking about the incompetence of companies like Ticketmaster and and specifically of arenas cashing in. Before we started the show, we were discussing Wrigley Field. And you're a Cubs fan.
I'm a diehard Cubs fan.
Diehard Cubs. And I used to live 10 minutes away from the field, so I went to a few games myself. Wrigley was expensive back then, and I moved away from Chicago in 2010. I cannot imagine what it's like 15 years on.
Wrigley was the shit back in the 90s, though, like the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in early 90s, and I'm about to snitch on myself, but I think my mom already heard this. Like in the early 90s, like I got graduated in 92. So like 91, 92.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Mom in Motown. But we would ditch school to go to Wrigleyville.
Okay.
In the early 90s, we were like literally ditch school, go see the Cubs play.
Okay.
Back then, you know what the rooftop was back in the early 90s? Was a couple of fucking fat ass guys just sitting on the roof with a cooler.
Well, see, they've redesigned the field since then,
Yeah.
haven't they? Yeah. Yeah, they modernized Wrigley's.
And it's funny because I did a post on Facebook, and my post was about the Cubs spanking. The Cubs put it on the Cardinals like, does.
I can't say it.
And I celebrated, but I was like, fuck the Ricketts. And Cooper commented on that, like, what's your beef with the Ricketts? Like, the Cubs are doing good. It had nothing to do with how good the Cubs are. First of all, they just got good. They've been sad for a while. They just now got good. But the Ricketts, I'm sorry, are charged. It is embarrassing that as a Cub fan, I could travel to St. Louis and get a hotel, train ticket and everything, and see the Cubs play the Cardinals for less money than when I was living in Chicago and go to Wrigleyville.
Yeah, that is sad. And Wrigleyville was expensive when the last time I went there. So
It is embarrassing that I could go to Milwaukee and see the Cubs play the Brewers for less money than I would pay. First of all, it's $100 a park.
Oh. Yeah.
And when I say it's $100 a park, I'll talk about the parking that I picked where we still got to walk.
Yeah. Premium parking is probably 2 times that.
My buddy, last year, the Bears played the Rams here. Then the Rams, I'm sorry, I thought it was the St. Louis game. The Bears played the Colts here last year.
Right.
Got 4 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Sean, Sean got tickets, 4 tickets. Me, Sean, and his 2 boys. Sean always take his boys to see the Bears.
Yeah.
$500 for 4 tickets.
Oh, no. That is horrible.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. You know why it's not ridiculous? Because Sean was like going to cost him $2,000 to take the boys to see the Bears in Soldier Field.
Oh.
When I told Sean I could get 4 tickets for $500, he was like, and I told Sean 4 tickets for $500, and he paid for mine. You know why he paid for mine? Because I got tickets cheap enough on taking the boys to the game. It ain't gonna cost them $2,000. Our $500 would have been $2,000 in Chicago for 4 people.
I can imagine that. Those are Broadway prices, for the love of God. Have you ever been to a Broadway musical, even in Chicago? Well, I mean, you may not have been, but the prices for...
I saw a Broadway musical in Chicago. It was 4th of July weekend many years back. Mm-hmm. It was Motown.
Yeah. Well, see, my mom and I, back in 2007, I believe it was, we went to see Miss Saigon.
Okay.
In downtown Chicago on State Street, the Chicago Broadway. Those tickets were outrageous, and that was back. That was back almost 20 fucking years ago. So we're talking about, I mean, if you go to New York and go see something like Hamilton, not only are you paying outrageous sums of money for just a ticket ahead, but you're paying for New York, and you're paying for lodging and all of that. You're talking like thousands of dollars just to see one show. Now, Hamilton is worth it because it's a great show, but if you're seeing something off Broadway, then you're talking like stupid amounts of money for something that should not cost nearly as much.
Back in I want to say it's 2018, 2019. When we talk about ticket prices, we're gonna talk about other ones too, though. But me, Cooper, and 4 of my friends. So it was like Denise and her partner. It was my buddy Mike and his lady. we got a hotel in St. Louis. We got train tickets. We took the train to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Our tickets for the game was $60 each. And you know why it was $60? Because 40 of the $60 paid for the 2-hour pregame. The 2-hour pregame in St. Louis included all the beer you could drink, all the food you could eat. Hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza. Like, it was straight up bar food, but for $40, we could drink all the beer we want, we could eat all the food we want. $60 for that shit.
You can't do that in Wrigley.
You can't park for $60.
That's, yeah. It does depend on the city, though.
Because St. Louis, and it's crazy because St. Louis is a huge baseball city. They love their Cardinals. They not paying Wrigley prices. Like, if St. Louis tried to charge Wrigley prices, that stadium would be fucking empty. When I lived in St. Louis, motherfuckers in St. Louis complained about having to pay $10 to park at the stadium.
Yeah.
I would give up a ripe nut to park at Wrigley Field for $10.
Well, from what you're saying, that's 10 times less than what they're charging for. That's unbelievable. But it also depends on whether the team is winning too.
The St. Louis Cardinals were winning. They were a damn good team. Like, they were winning championships back when I lived in St. Louis from like 2003 to like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals were good back then. They were better than the Cubs. And I hate saying that because I'm a diehard Cub fan.
Those were the Sammy Sosa days, though.
It was right after Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
So that's why the Cubs wasn't as good, but the Cardinals were damn good back then.
Mm-hmm.
They won championships when I was there. They won 2 championships when I lived in St. Louis. And they couldn't charge them prices. God. You know why they couldn't charge them prices? I hate the Sox. Fucking despise the Sox. Hate them. But I'm going to give the Sox credit. Those fans are not paying outrageous amount of money to see a shitty team.
That's true. But then again, you have to have almost a masochistic relationship with the Chicago Cubs in order to go see them live. I mean, okay, my best friend in the world, Mike, he loves the White Sox.
Okay.
And he insisted on going to one of their games live over at U.S. Cellular Field right when I was moving away.
Okay.
Back in 2010. And we went to a crosstown series between the White Sox and the Cubs.
It's still Comiskey to me.
Well, it is Comiskey to him, too. He won't call it U.S. Cellular. But those prices were like tame compared to anything that was happening now. And that was before the Cubs started winning again, and that was long before the 2016 World Series win. And I can't imagine what the prices were like at Wrigley during those games. I mean, you would probably have to sell your soul to the devil to just get into the nosebleeds for those.
Yeah. And wrestling is not too far off on that.
They're there already.
They're there already.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble hurt me. Royal Rumble in Indianapolis hurt me. Without a doubt, my favorite pay-per-view. I love Royal Rumble more than WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble is like pizza. Even when it sucks, it's good.
Yes. And the tickets are so fucking outrageous. It's like I didn't go.
I didn't go either. I mean, well, not just because I'm stingy and cheap, which I am, but it was just what they were doing with that show, to my mind, was not worth the prices that they were charging.
Even if they're doing different stuff with the show, it wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
AEW ain't much better now. Like, AEW don't charge as much as WWE. But you remember we did Forbidden Door some years back, and then a few months later we did All Out.
Forbidden Door and All Out in the space of like 4 months.
I was pissed about the $200 some odd we paid for All Out.
Yeah, $200 a head was pricey. Yes.
Like, I just feel like these big corporations, when I say these big corporations, and I focus more on what I know. So AEW, WWE, the Bears, and the Cubs. You're pricing out your fans.
Yes.
That's the problem I have with the ticket prices, because you're not setting them for like your diehard fans to go. You're pricing out your diehard fans for these fucking rich ass motherfuckers who don't give a shit about what you do.
Well,
and I think that's part of the reason why they put on shit, because you have motherfuckers paying all these prices just to say they were there.
Yes.
And that's the problem I have with these ticket prices today.
Yeah, it's become an institution instead of an event. And that is one of my big problems that I've voiced on here before. It's about going to something to say that you went instead of going to see a quality show.
That's where it's at, though, because your diehard fans. I mean, and we see that, and I think both AEW and WWE had those fans where you're just like, Jesus Christ, that motherfucker's there in every show. What the fuck is he doing for a living that he's able to attend every show? Because like, I can't attend one.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I make a whole lot of money. I don't make a whole lot of money though, but I think I make a decent amount of money to be able to attend one.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can afford is a goddamn house show.
Yeah, and barely that. I mean, it depends on. I mean, a once in a lifetime thing for us. You would have, if you went to more than one pay-per-view a year, it would run you somewhere in the neighborhood of a few grand just to be able to do that. Whereas some of these people who are paying like premium prices for ringside tickets, I don't know how the hell you can afford that unless you make a killing on the stock market.
And look at, because the two of us, we both. And it's crazy because the two of us was at WrestleMania 25 in Houston.
Yes.
We didn't know each other back then.
No.
And we were just connected that way, but we didn't know each other back then. But we can't go to WrestleMania for a fraction of what we paid to attend 25.
Right.
And that's just sad because, in all honesty, I don't know how much your tickets were.
I think they were about $175 a head.
Okay, because me and Cooper was about 150, 170, something like that, too.
Yeah. I think we might have been, like, on opposite sides of the arena. But still, the prices, plus access, plus the hotel rooms.
It's all a fucking money gouge now with these motherfuckers.
Yes, especially. And it's not just the arenas either. It's the hotels as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Rogers was in that business for a while, and he can testify for a fact that they raise their prices to the fucking moon when these special events come in. And that doesn't mean that we're against capitalism. I am not against making money. And I'm not against some of the things that companies need to do to make money, because especially TKO. TKO is $3 billion in the hole after just 2 years of existence, which boggles my fucking mind. I can't believe that those guys are as in the...
It makes you wonder... It makes you wonder because WWE always do these like post shows.
Yes.
And they always talk about these record breaking gates. Like back when Vince, I mean, I'm happy Vince is gone, but when Vince was there, it was about ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the TKO Triple H era is about
merch,
the gate, what we made.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're making, and it amazes me because like some of these gates, you're talking about. You in an arena with like 16, 20,000 people, and you broke a record for like money that you made.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's all inflated prices.
Because like somebody lying. Because you can't tell me you break it every month. Every fucking month. You had Triple H talk about, we broke another gate record. We broke another gate record. We broke another gate record. How you breaking all these goddamn gate records and you're in the hole?
Because they are spending more money than they take in. I don't know on what. Maybe on these elaborate sets they've got, maybe on contracts. It's hard to tell what they're spending the money on, but they're coming out in the red.
I mean, cause as elaborate as these entrances are, they're not like they were back in the 90s, though.
Ugh.
They're not. I mean, whether you like it or not, Ryan, what they're doing now as far as presentation is a bootleg version of what they did back in the heyday.
That's true, which kind of leads us into our next subject. Back in the day versus way back in the day. When we started watching wrestling between like 85
The
and
mid-80s
90.
and up, yeah.
Yeah, mid 80s and up to like the late 90s.
What year did you start watching wrestling?
I started watching in the fall of 1986.
Okay, so I started a little bit before you then.
Yeah.
I started like 83. And shout out to my mom's ex-husband, Mama Motown. Number 3, David.
Yep, that's who you blame. Now, my mom would have to blame Playboy Buddy Rose, because that was him and Doug Summers versus a guy named Jesse Hernandez and Leon White, the future Vader. That was the very first tag team match that I ever saw on AWA on ESPN. And then later on, they had Sergeant Slaughter versus Nord the Barbarian. It was 1986, and I loved G.I. Joe. Sergeant Slaughter's right there. I was hooked.
The golden years, you know what got me hooked on it?
The Road Warriors.
Yes. World Championship Wrestling Saturday night, 5:05 Central Time on TBS. It's on a Saturday. Out playing with my friends, come in the house. And my mom's ex-husband, David, was watching wrestling. I walk in, I'm like, who the fuck are they? Oh, that's the Road Warriors. They're from Chicago. Really?
Yeah.
And they just ran in there. I don't know who. It could have been the Malkies. I don't know. I don't remember who they fought. It could have been the Malkies.
It could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody. But the way, I mean, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Because when he was watching it, I didn't know wrestling back in 83 when I saw this. So, like, I saw a ring, I saw people in there. I'm just thinking, like, boxing. But this ain't boxing. These motherfuckers are fucking going at them. They whooped that ass.
Yes.
And I was intrigued, and they were like, have a seat. Check this out. And I was going to go back out and play with my friends, though, but I was intrigued with what we saw.
Yeah.
And I'll admit. And then Ric Flair came out, too.
Yeah.
At this time, I'm like 9 or 10 years old. I absolutely love the fucking Road Warriors. That was back when the Legion of Doom consisted of the Road Warriors and Jake the Snake Roberts.
And the Spoiler and King Kong Bundy. Yeah. The Legion of Doom was more than just the Road Warriors at one point. That's a historical point.
But then Ric Flair came out in that same episode. Start talking about this. He talking about that. He talking about his Rolex. He talking about how his fucking shoes cost more than what you make in a year. Like Ric Flair, and it's funny because Ric Flair's cutting a heel promo, and I was like, I love this man.
Well, see, it all depends on what the first time was very important. See, I guess that's what started my like of baby faces. You saw the Road Warriors and Ric Flair, and the Road Warriors were basically heels that were cheered.
They were baby face heels.
Yes.
I mean, cause we talked. I'm sure you guys, if you guys watch all our episodes, we talk about like the heels getting cheered. The Road Warriors were straight heel.
Yes.
But they were babyface heels. They were the babyfaces, but they were doing heel shit.
They were the team that you called in when you couldn't stand a heel tag team anymore. When you wanted to see the Midnight Express get their asses handed to them in a bloody heap, you called in Hawk and Animal. And you cheered for Hawk and Animal because you couldn't stand Jimmy Cornette and his crew. That was their appeal.
And for those of you watching this, because we talk about a lot of stuff, and like some of y'all might not know how wrestling terminology and everything, but the one thing that you got to give real respect for it is a pop.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, The pop is the reaction. Like when the music hit, they come out, the reaction. And the Road Warriors doing like bad guy shit, but when their music hit and they came out, it became a Road Warrior pop. Like if you got an incredible pop, if you got incredible reaction, if you got everybody loving you, it's a Road Warrior pop, and that's what they fucking did.
And it was a roar. God. Not like the Rock and Roll Express. With the Rock and Roll Express, it was like a high-pitched scream because all the women...
There was a lot more bass in the Road Warriors pop.
Yes, there was, because the men were ready to love the
But
Road
I'm sorry,
Warriors.
though. Like, as good as the Rock and Roll's pop was, the Road Warriors had a bigger pop.
Yeah, that's true. But see, people loved Sergeant Slaughter because he was a meat and potatoes... patriotic babyface in 1985 and 86. He was G.I. Joe.
That's why
I fell in love with that.
I'm a Hill person, though, but I did love Sergeant Slaughter back in the mid-'80s and the golden days because I love G.I. Joe. Like, shit. Back in the day, like, I remember Bozo. Do you ever watch Bozo Circus?
I didn't live close enough to Chicago to watch it.
So anybody watch it, I mean, and y'all, if y'all know what I'm talking about, y'all old. But the Bozo Circus had their shit going. And Bozo Circus were like about 90 minutes, but they showed Transformers and G.I. Joe. And that's when I fell in love with. I love both.
Yes.
So to see like Sergeant Slaughter on G.I. Joe and be able to see him in real life, I was a fan of Sergeant Slaughter back when I was younger.
Yeah, and those episodes still episodes still hold up today. The Sunbow ones, because some of the best like TV that you can find as far as storyline goes is the like third season of G.I. Joe where they introduced Serpentor and Sergeant Slaughter. And that stuff is on YouTube. You can see it for free. It still holds up. But we're getting a little bit off topic here.
We're talking about like Golden Era versus Attitude Era. It's really hard for me personally. Here's what I love. Like, for me, it's hard to say what was better between the Attitude Era and the Golden Era. And for me, this is the reason why it's hard to like say which one was better. For me, it was the evolution.
Okay.
The Golden Era, I was a kid. So it was like a lot of kid shit going on back then that I related to and I loved and everything.
Okay.
The thing that I loved about the Attitude Era is because, and I don't think it definitely was intentional, because the Attitude Era was basically their counter to WCW and what they were doing. But I felt like the Attitude Era was them acknowledging our fan base is older. So the shit that we loved as fans back in the 80s, we're in the 90s. We're in the mid-90s now. So, like, I'm not that kid no more. But that's your core fan base. So it's like, I know it was not intentional. It was accidental. But I just felt like, as I'm getting older and as my interest is different, y'all involved for that fan base.
Now, I feel the exact same way about that, but I put Golden Age above Attitude Era strictly because there were two transitions that happened, and one of them happened a different way for me. When I started watching, they were transitioning from territories into national expansion. And that was spearheaded by WWF. Back then, I was a WWF fan first and everything else second.
In the 80s?
Yeah, in the 80s up until 92, 93.
I was focusing on the 80s. You like WWF more than like UWF, WCCW, AWA?
See, I loved NWA matches, but I wanted them to have WWF finishes.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, the NWA, especially Crockett, was so damned frustrating because guys like Dusty and Magnum and Barry Windham and Lex Luger and Sting couldn't hold on to a fucking belt for more than 2 minutes before somebody took it off of them.
I get why I liked it more than you.
Yeah, because you love the heels.
I love Ric Flair.
See, yeah,
Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. Fucking Barry Windham is underrated for how
yes.
great he is.
Barry Windham was definitely underrated, especially as a babyface. I mean, he and Mike Rotundo were a fantastic tag team, and they could
I'm
have gone
sorry
a
though.
lot farther in the WWF.
Barry Windham as a heel, as a horseman.
But see, he transitioned into a heel at the expense of Lex Luger because Luger, for the longest time, he was an underachiever as a heel and he was naive as a babyface. And as charismatic as he could be, you couldn't love Luger as much as Sting. Because Sting was that energetic guy that you knew could carry a damn company. Luger was a better heel.
It comes with the authenticity of the character too, though, because the difference between Sting and Luger, in my opinion, is the love for the business.
Yes.
I think Luger had a lot more appreciation for the business now that he's
after
out of
he
it.
was out of it, yes.
But back then,
no.
wait. I'm gonna say back then, and I gotta give an apology to Mama Motown because I'm about to kind of dish your boy a little bit. Luger was Goldberg before Goldberg.
Oh.
I'm not talking about his work. I'm talking about his love for the business and his dedication to it.
All apologies to Mama Motown, and I know that she loves Goldberg, but I'm sorry, Luger had more talent than Goldberg.
I'm not talking talent-wise.
You're talking about dedication.
I'm talking about the dedication and appreciation for the business. Like,
okay.
For Luger, it was a paycheck.
Yeah.
He didn't appreciate the business like he should have. If he appreciated the business more, because trust me, Flair tried to put him on his back. Flair tried to get him there. Like, Flair, this is what I don't like about Hogan. Hogan don't bring you up. Flair understood the business is going to stand if we make other stars. And Flair tried to make Luger a star.
Okay, Hogan made stars too, but he just made them in a different way. They had two different jobs. Flair had to get over a babyface that was already loved. Hogan had to make you hate people. And the way that he did that was to get as much heat on them as possible. He did that with Orndorff, with Savage, with Bundy, with DiBiase, with Andre. Andre was beloved before WrestleMania 3. Hogan had to make people hate that man. Now, Bobby Heenan helped.
But here's the problem I have with that, though. Hogan did what he can to bring him up, but he always beat them.
That's because you can't beat... We've had this discussion. You can't beat Superman clean or he's not Superman anymore.
Beat him dirty. Get him over.
They did beat him dirty, but they couldn't get rid of him. That was Hogan's appeal was that he always... I mean, in the Superman comics, Superman has not been nearly as over as he was before his death. After the Doomsday thing, he's just been like... different variations of Clark Kent. He hasn't been Kal-El from Krypton since the first time he died. Hogan has not been Hulk Hogan since 1990 when the Ultimate Warrior beat him clean.
And he did that job, and I appreciate him for that. It didn't work out, but a lot of that was on Ultimate Warrior, though. I'm not even going to put that on Hogan.
Jim Hellwig was the Lex Luger of the WWF.
But when you look at stars, Ric Flair made more stars than Hogan.
Arguably, yeah. So, at least more babyface stars.
Even Luger falling short, he was still a bigger star than like Orndorff and Piper and everything as far as success.
I would argue that for Orndorff, but not for Piper. Piper was huge without any of that. But there were reasons for that too.
I think the reason I put Luger ahead of them is the fact that like Piper didn't need Hogan to get him there. It wasn't like Hogan got him there. No, Piper was there.
Yeah, Piper was there. Piper was the Joker to.
I will give Hogan Goldberg. I will give Hogan Goldberg though. I will give Hogan Goldberg.
Okay, granted. I mean
that night, the Georgia Dome.
Yeah. Well, you see, here's the problem with the when I started watching, they were transitioning from territory to national expansion. But I took a different route when I transitioned from golden era to modern, because I was watching ECW back in the day. And ECW, to me, was a much rawer, more authentic form of the Attitude Era than the WWF version. The WWF version to me was like a trash-talking PG-13 Jerry Springer version of what ECW was, and that they were deliberately ripping that off, and that guys like the Sandman, Dreamer, Taz, and Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero didn't get the flowers that they deserved because WWF was ripping off their talent. One guy that was really fucked over by that whole situation was Bam Bam Bigelow. Bigelow could have dominated the WWF, but
Wasn't Bigelow in WWF before ECW though?
Yes, he was, but he didn't get nearly as over because he was a babyface. If he had been a heel, he would have been a monster. And he might have actually beaten Hogan before before Ultimate Warrior did, but that outran him. And that has to do partially with Hogan's ego too, and that got in the way a lot of times. But for me, the Attitude Era is and I'm not trying to take away anything from Austin. Austin was the shit, especially after the Montreal Screwjob and having the right villain with McMahon. And that was half the reason that the Attitude Era worked, because everybody wanted to hate Vince McMahon.
The thing with Austin that made the Attitude so great, and I think and some of it I think is generational too, though, because in the 80s we were kids.
Yeah.
When Austin did the shit that he did, he was going against the boss. We could relate to that shit.
We were in our late teens, early 20s.
We had that boss we didn't like.
We all did, yes.
So we could relate to Austin.
Yeah.
And you could thump your Bible and say your prayers. It didn't get you anywhere. Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. Austin, in all honesty, he made the Attitude Era, but Jesus Christ, that motherfucker was right place, right time, because he wasn't supposed to win that King of the Ring. It was supposed to be Triple H.
To me, there were 5 people that made the Attitude Era work. Austin, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Mick Foley. 5 guys who made the Attitude Era work, and 2 of...
You left out a huge name that made that Attitude Era work.
Who?
Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
But he was in charge of it. I'm talking about the in-ring guys.
You don't have Austin the way he is without McMahon.
I will give you that. Okay.
Back in the Attitude Era, he was the biggest villain.
Okay, I will grant you that. That's fine. I mean, I'm talking about the in-ring guys that McMahon used in order to get...
No, I'm not talking... I'm talking about, like, the character. Okay. There was nobody more hated than... Vince McMahon is arguably, back in the Attitude Era, the biggest heel.
Okay, now where does Bret Hart fit into that? Because, well, Bret and Shawn Michaels, because they were part of the Golden Era as tag team wrestlers, transitioned to singles wrestlers. They
had more impact in the Attitude Era than the Golden Era, in my opinion.
Michaels did. I don't know about Bret.
Not in the tag team days.
Well, okay, Bret was important to the transition, but was he important to the Attitude Era? Not necessarily.
Bret's importance, in all honesty, it sucks for him because his importance in it, Bret made Vince McMahon.
He made the character, yes.
So that's his importance in the Attitude Era. I get what you're saying with, like, Bret was a bigger star in the Attitude Era, and you're definitely right about that. But I'm not sure if we have Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the heel that he is, without the Montreal Screwjob.
You definitely don't. And not without Shawn's ridiculous shit going on.
But no, Vince's part in there was a hell of a lot more than Shawn's, though. Like, that meant more for... Shawn Michaels on the Screwjob was already a star.
Yes.
At that point. You had your ultimate villain because of Bret Hart and that Screwjob.
Yeah. But if I got to choose between one era and the other, then I'm going to go with Golden. Because it was this is going to sound ridiculous in certain ears, but it was more real to me because kayfabe was still alive, and there were parts of the golden era that I appreciated more than the Attitude Era because I was more exposed to ECW and saw that first before the WWF grew up. Because, I mean, you were watching Attitude Era primarily, like, when they started and...
I was watching WWE regardless, though.
Right. You were more of a WWE... I definitely loved ECW before they became, like, completely extreme in 94, 95.
You talking about Eastern Championship Wrestling?
Yes, I started watching them when they were still Eastern Championship Wrestling, but it was after the line was crossed. After the Sabu, Terry Funk, and Shane Douglas thing where they established the new style. But all of that, when it started appearing in a watered-down form on WWF TV, is why I consider the Attitude Era inferior, because they didn't go full ECW. And ECW didn't get the credit for that, and I wish they had.
But you can't fault, as far as stealing talent and all the shit they were doing, you can't just say WWE, because WCW is picking their talent too.
Yeah, but WCW sucked at it.
Yeah,
WCW was terrible at trying to be hardcore and trying to... The only thing that WCW did right was the NWO. Everything else they fumbled.
They even
fumbled badly.
They fumbled that too. They had fucking money right there. They fumbled that. They fumbled the NWA down the road.
Yes.
But I honestly, I like the Attitude Era better. I do.
You do.
And here's why, because it's like the Golden Era, I'll be honest with you, like I felt this shit was real. But I wasn't as big on WWE as WWF then as I was NWA.
Yeah, NWA.
It just felt more real to me because, like, they got to the point where, like, you were Attitude, Golden Era, you knew wrestling was scripted, but they never broke kayfabe, so it was always that line and everything.
Yeah.
Attitude Era, the one thing I loved about it is the fact that, like, you didn't know what was real and what wasn't real. And that was credit to both companies back in the mid-90s. Like when Scott Hall was a game changer when he showed up on Nitro. Because you didn't know, like, is this fake or is this real? I love the Attitude Era because it challenged me to think, was this planned? Is this real? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, during the NWO, in their heyday, when they threw Rey Mysterio into the fucking wall,
yeah,
they called the police on them motherfuckers.
Yeah, when they javelined him into the side of the truck. Yeah,
I love Attitude Era, and when I say Attitude Era, I include WCW in that in the NWO days because they crossed that line. They brought that realism back to wrestling.
Okay, fair enough.
Like when DX invaded WCW, it was like, holy shit.
The Monday Night Wars were
phenomenal.
Great. Yeah, the Monday Night Wars was great. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I put the Golden Age first because, to me, it was a more exciting product. It was a more genuine product. And when it came to the NWA, it was more of a meat and potatoes and bacon product rather than a Pop Rocks product. And ECW, to me, extended that tradition because ECW was just absolutely balls to the wall, raw-ass professional wrestling, the way that it was trying to imitate Territory, Blood and Guts. And when you go back and watch Territory stuff, the blood and guts was it appeal. I mean, let's go back to not Starcade, but Great American Bash 86. They went back, practically every match on that card had somebody blading. There was some kind of blood in all but 2 matches on that entire card. And it just, you believed it. It was rough-edged, raw bone, smoking cigars in a smoke-filled arena kind of thing. And ECW imitated that, and it wasn't for everybody. Once you got into the Attitude Era and Crash TV, especially later on in the game, when you crossed into the Ruthless Aggression era and fucking John Cena, everything became...
We ain't talking about that shit.
Well, okay, granted, but over time, everything has become more accessible. And professional wrestling, by its very nature, should not be that accessible. I mean, we are a niche audience. We're a niche audience. We are a subculture as wrestling fans. And I want it to stay that way. Like the 50-year-old that still goes to Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm that motherfucker when it comes to wrestling, okay?
I ain't gonna lie, though. Like, one of my favorite memories from the Attitude Era, WCW Dynamite in the United Center. Me and my buddy Sean would go there. The Nitro was the shit. Mm-hmm. Like, during the Attitude Era, as much as I love WWE, but Nitro was must-see. Mm-hmm. And what I'm about to share with y'all is not wrestling related.
Okay.
Me and Sean, we grab our tickets back then in the 90s, where like we're grabbing the night of, try to get some tickets at a reasonable price, because like it's like 2 hours before the show, they normally drop the price. Right. We're at the United Center in the parking lot, and we're pregame because shit costs a lot of money in the United Center, so we go there with a case of beer, we drinking and everything.
Yeah. Tailgating.
This little kid, we in our car drinking. This little kid rolls up to my side of the window. You know you're not supposed to be drinking in here. I'm gonna need $5 to keep my mouth shut.
You gotta be shitting me.
And I gave the little motherfucker $5 because he's right. We not supposed to be there. Like, here's your $5 going on about your business. This little fucking entrepreneur bastard motherfucker piece of shit took my $5 on his bike, and he rode his bike to the other side of the car and told Sean, I'm gonna need $5 from you too.
That little son of a bitch. Oh my god, that sounds like a Blazing Saddles joke. Holy shit. I came face to face with a 6-year-old kid. I threw down my guns and walked away, and the little bastard shot me in the ass.
And you know what show that was for Nitro? That was when Kevin Sullivan and Chris Benoit had like their brawl throughout the arena. And they fought in a bathroom that me and Sean was in. Like, early in that night. Like, when we saw that shit, we're like, we were just
in
there!
The bathroom. Oh, shit.
That was a great feud.
Yes, it was. But it ended up being tragic, but it was great while it was still kayfabe. Yeah.
Fuck Chris Benoit. I'm sorry. Fuck Chris Benoit.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was a great wrestler.
He was a phenomenal wrestler, though,
for that shit.
No. I'm a huge fan of Nancy Benoit. She didn't deserve to die, and neither did her son.
No, she didn't. I quote Paul Heyman, only 3 people died that weekend, only 1 had a choice.
Yes. Yeah.
No Hall of Fame for the rabid Wolverine. I'm very sorry.
And it's funny because if you're in a Motown wrestling group, join it. I mean, if you're not in it, join it. But if you are in it, somebody, I want to say the marvelous Marcus Buckley, he posted a video on New Jack talking about Chris Benoit in that situation and everything. And, man, he's spot on and everything, though. He was spot on in that video. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Because he was basically like...
There is another guy who could have gone a whole lot farther, but his lifestyle destroyed him. We were talking about Tommy Rich and Buddy Landell before. New Jack was a wild motherfucker who could have made...
Crazy.
He could have made a whole lot more money had he not lived the way he lived.
He was crazy.
Yes, I know. He had 4 justifiable homicides. classics.
And it's funny because in the video he talked about with Chris Benoit, because he hates Benoit. He hates what he did to Nancy. He's like, Nancy's a friend of his.
Yeah.
Fuck Benoit. And I respect him for that. And you gotta check the video out, because he said in this video, I have never been convicted of killing anybody or doing anything like he did. And I laughed my ass off when New Jack had to specify, I had never been convicted
of that, yes. But see...
Cause New Jack, do you remember the guy when they had his table stack that was way up there and everything, and New Jack threw the guy?
where he tried to kill Grimes.
Like, he tried to fucking kill him.
Yes. Because Grimes was the guy that gave him brain damage and blinded his eye. Yes. Because he didn't want to go off the fucking scaffold, and New Jack had to throw him physically, and he ended up landing on his head and fucking himself up, and they had to cut away the camera, which was one of the only times in ECW they ever did that. So, yeah, New Jack was very unique in the business, but goddamn was he insane. And he just, he wasn't the only crazy guy in professional wrestling, but holy shit, dude, was
He's one of the craziest.
Yes, one of the craziest.
He's definitely one of the craziest.
Yes. But see, the difference is he didn't try to kill himself or people that he loved. He ended up killing people that he didn't love, which... fucked up drug deals and all that sort of thing. But yeah, New Jack only harmed people he hated. He didn't get his head so fucked up that he killed his loved ones.
But before we write this video up, because we're talking about Golden Era versus Attitude Era, we gotta touch on ECW though.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes to Extreme, when it comes to Attitude Era didn't exist. Would not have exist if it wasn't for the greatest manager of all times, Paul Heyman, and ECW.
Yes.
I absolutely love ECW. The thing that got me into ECW was Bubba Ray and Devon, the Dudley Boys, with Big Dick Dudley. And I'm sorry though. And Screamers and Words are all because they had all the guys doing off the wall shit, like Balls Mahoney and whoever and everything.
The Sandman and all those guys, yeah.
Paul Heyman's a goddamn genius how he booked them, because he was like, Sandman's not gonna give you a good match, but he's gonna give you good interest to get everybody involved.
Yes.
But my absolute favorite person during the Attitude Era, Rob Van Dam. The whole fucking show.
Yes. Oh, God. The matches that Van Dam had with Jerry Lynn in ECW were classics. And the thing that turned me on about ECW was that they had a variety. It wasn't just blood and guts. The Malenko Guerrero Classics
was a classic, one of the greatest matches ever.
Yes, and it once again, it's one of my matches on.
Like, as much as I'm Savage Steamboat WrestleMania 3 is one of my favorite matches though, but I will put that match ahead of them.
Okay, so there are two matches on my must-see matches list for non-fans, so that a person who's not a fan of wrestling will understand why we are. Two of those matches, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10. They perfected the art that they knew at that time. Second match, Malenko versus Guerrero, 1995, as part of the Malenko Guerrero Classics in ECW. That match is what started to set the standard for the transition for modern wrestling. The ghosts of what we see now began in those matches between Malenko and Guerrero, and they carried that on to the Cruiserweight division in WCW. Those matches were like the bridge between what the Attitude Era and what the modern era became and what the Golden Age was.
There's another match that was the bridge, because like you can't really classify this match as Golden Era or Attitude Era. Is that bridge? I'm sorry. And they put this match in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not sure if it was a Hall of Fame match as far as first match going in it, but it was huge. Bret Hart versus Stone
Stone
Cold
Cold.
Steve Austin.
Yes.
The I Quit match.
That was an iconic match.
With a double turn.
Yes.
That was storytelling at its best. And that was a great fucking match.
It was. And it's hard to define because it was
Were you
a
there for
game
that?
changer. I watched it live, yes.
Because that was in Chicago, right?
I wasn't there live. I wasn't living in Chicago during 13. I was living there until...
Wait.
I was there live for 22, but not 13.
I know you had more WrestleManias than me, though. I wasn't sure if you was at that one, though. But that one... And I always... Like, Austin... I love I love what he did for the Attitude Era, but I love Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stunning Steve Austin from the WCW days.
Oh, the matches he had with Steamboat were off the chain.
Steamboat is a GOAT that don't get credit.
Yes.
Because a lot of people could like not put him in the GOAT conversation, but when you look at some of the greatest matches that you've seen, Steamboat's been in a lot of them. He's been in one.
Steamboat has been in at least 5 of the top 10 matches that I would consider top 10.
Well, him and Flair. I mean, anything him and Flair is fucking incredible. WrestleMania 3.
Him and Savage, yes.
Him and Austin was fucking phenomenal.
Oh, even before that.
Him and Flair.
Oh my God, Steamboat and Jay Youngblood versus Slaughter and Canoodle in 1983. I mean, if you ever see that match in a cage, that was like brutal and just phenomenal stuff.
I did.
Slaughter as a heel and Steamboat as a face was just classic stuff.
Steamboat was one of the most talented wrestlers in the world. If he was better in promos, people would give him the credit he deserved.
Well, I see, I give him credit even without the promos because I am not a promo guy.
No, I get that though, but he's not in the GOAT conversation because of that.
And I mean, I have to give you, I have to agree with that, but
I'm not saying it's right.
Oh, it ain't right. It ain't right. But yes, you got that right.
He had good matches with Honky Tonk. No, he did. Honky Tonk, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Some of his best matches in his run was against Ricky Dragon Steamboat, though.
Yes. Even in Madison Square Garden at house shows, when he came back to fight Honky. Okay, I have to give Wayne Ferris some love because he gave me... Wayne Ferris as the Honky Tonk Man gave me one of my favorite memories of my dad. I don't know if I've told this story before, but SummerSlam 88, we were watching that live. My father despised the Honky Tonk Man because he loved Elvis and he hated Elvis impersonators. Okay? And to have both of those things in the ring at the same time made him want to puke. And he knew better than I did that the Ultimate Warrior was coming up in the world and that he was going to be big. And when Honky comes out there and says, "Give me somebody to wrestle, I don't care who it is," my dad looks at the screen and starts going, "Give me Warrior, give me Warrior, give me Warrior." And then when that fucking music hit, he was younger than I am now, like 38, 39 years old, didn't give a shit about wrestling, only cared that I loved it and I was his son. This man jumped out of his fucking chair and went, "Yeah!" when that music hit, and then it was like a 48-second orgasm. It was just unbelievable shit. That Honky,
moment put in your dad like does.
Yes. Holy
I'll
shit.
admit, I wasn't expecting Warrior to come out though, but I marked the fuck out when I heard his music and everything.
I never felt that way about the Attitude Era, but the Golden Era gave me moments like that, and that's why I gotta put it first.
There's two big moments in the Attitude Era that I absolutely love, and it's the reason why I absolutely love that era a little bit more. I'm not saying it's just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Also, King of the Ring promo.
Okay.
That put him on the map.
Right.
And it pains me to say this. Hogan's turn.
Yeah, the Bash at the Beach 96 turn.
That was fucking huge.
Yes, it was. I was conflicted for a while, but I ended up being NWO for life because I kind of saw where Hogan was coming from. The WCW crowd was booing the yellow and red. I still loved the yellow and red, and so to switch to black was natural for me. Even though I loved Hogan as a babyface, I got behind him as a heel because I blamed the fans for that shit.
And it just showed the, like, granted, things worked out. WWE won the war.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would have put a trigger on that quicker than WCW did, we might have not had a Monday Night War.
That's true. That's very true. I mean,
that's one of those what ifs. That's one of those what ifs.
Well, see, they opened the door after the Yokozuna loss at King of the Ring because that was never answered. Hogan never got a receipt for that. So it is entirely possible that because Hogan's popularity was declining in 93, that they could have done it then. But they waited until 96 when he was in a whole different company.
And granted, I feel like WWE, WWF at the time dropped the ball, and they could have done that though. But I don't think it would have been as effective. I don't think it would have been as effective as the way the WCW did it.
There were two different audiences, and the WWF audience loved Hulk Hogan so much that it would have taken a whole lot more than what WCW did to make it take.
Yeah.
So
because at the time it was perfect. Because at the time it was perfect though. Like, Bischoff made a lot of fucking bad decisions. He made a lot of bad decisions, but that was on point because it's like they're not feeling you, they don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Do this, and you remember back then the rumor was if Hogan didn't do it, it was going to be Sting.
Yes.
And I think it worked better the way they did it.
Yes.
I don't think Sting could have pulled it off like Hogan did. And I'm not a huge Sting fan. I'm not.
I am. I love Sting,
but I don't think Sting could have pulled it off like Hogan did.
He couldn't have. But if they had gone like the Brood route with Sting, it probably would have worked better the way that they did him. I mean, he still would have ended up in the rafters, but it would have been a heel thing, a chicken shit heel thing, and like a moody type Raven thing, proto-Raven type heel. But see, that was the one thing about Raven, in that he was the perfect emo heel. You knew where he was coming from, but you still hated him because of the shit that he was doing.
Yeah.
They could have gone the same route with Sting in WCW as part of the NWO as a third man, but it was more iconic when Hogan did it because you were so used to him being a babyface since 1981 that it was a bigger shock.
You know, Bobby Heenan almost gave it away, though. He did give it away, actually.
Yes, Bobby Heenan did give it away slightly, but that's because he always hated Hogan kayfabe.
That's what I love. No, I honestly think Bobby Heenan legit hates him.
Well,
I don't think it's kayfabe. I think he legit hate him.
Well, I don't know, because there were several like shoot interviews where Bobby put Hogan over as I don't think he liked him personally, but he certainly liked the money he made with him.
So he didn't like him.
I don't know.
No, he didn't like him. He liked the money. He didn't like him.
Well, speaking of the money, I think that we are out of time for this
we definitely are.
Yeah, we're out of time for this episode of Smoke and Fire, but we covered a lot of great ground. I am your not-so-humble correspondent, Robert Black, for Tony Motown Allen, saying so long. We will see you next episode. We covered a lot of ground, but we got more to come.